STIgma.
If you are one of those show-offy people who love to tell people something that they don't know, then you should check out Simplified. It's a podcast where Chuck, Nareen and Shrikate take complex subjects and try to simplify it for you in their own twisted way. New episodes are out on the IVM Podcast website, app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hello everybody, you're listening to Keeping It Queer with me, Navin Narona.
And Farhad.
Hi guys, welcome to Keeping It Queer.
Hi.
Before we started the episode, we spoke about stuff as usual, which is not shablamming. We spoke about how Farhad does not know how to vogue.
I did not say I don't know how to vogue. I said when I see voguing on Pose or whatever, I feel like I can do it. But if I actually tried it, I think I would.
Hence, you don't know how to do it.
I would have multiple body injuries.
You already have a pulled back muscle.
I have a spasm.
Sex related?
Not sex related.
What did you do?
It was just sitting on the bed related. I was about to sit on the bed and mid-air I got a spasm.
It's one of the worst, right? Like, where you're just being yourself.
The thing was, I did not know if I have because the thing is, we all get catches and spasms and shit, but for the first time in my life, I realized how bad a spasm can be. Yeah. So I honestly thought, this is it. This is what a spondylitis, or slip disc is. But turned out it was just a spasm.
Yeah. I once pulled my muscle in the middle of fornicating. And then I was lying flat on the bed. I'm like, at this point on, you do what you have to do.
Okay.
I'm out of commission, but I'll give you what I can give you. And you can take what you want to take.
Oh my God.
That's the worst. Then
you went on, that means.
No, the poor chap had to massage my back to normalcy because he saw I was wincing very badly. I also have back issues.
Honestly, the older I get, the more I don't know how to initiate sex, like when it's a hookup. Like before it used to just happen. When it was, I don't know, like 5 years ago, it's in the air.
I'm
you
in
kind
that
of
phase
know.
right now where
it's
I'm
just a matter of like who's gonna make the move, right?
Yeah.
But lately I feel like it's become should I make the move? Will he make the move? And I'm sure he's also thinking that.
Yeah.
And so my common go-to, I don't know if this sounds weird, but my common go-to is like, are you good at massages? I just shamelessly ask for a massage.
I tried
and
that.
It more often than not leads to some...
I'm not proud of it, but I did that. Where I'm like, this guy's my back's hurting. I'm like, hey, do you want me to do a massage?
No, I can't give a massage.
That's
a big
even I'm
massages
not good at,
are things you only want to get, you never want to give.
Yeah, then I had to be the classic rookie move where I'm like, hey, don't you think it'll be better if you take off his shirt and I can really reach out in the regions where I want to reach out.
Okay.
And he bought the bait, so I'm like, okay, I'm not classy that way. But on that note, we should introduce our guest for today, and we just keep talking about our shit for no reason for hours. Richa, thanks for joining us. Are you just sitting over there and be like, what are these gay boys talking about in the first place?
No, massaging.
This is adulting. I think this is exactly what adulting is.
Is this adulting?
Welcome to adulting.
We've not cried yet.
That comes after the podcast. But the camera's not rolling.
Yeah.
Richa Vashista is a very known person in the queer community, having worked with the Humsafar Trust for 4.5 years. And you also now branched off into your own thing. We'll learn about that, but your main expertise comes from clinical psychology. You learned clinical psychology from S03 University, is it?
Yeah, wow, you've done your research.
I went to Facebook and looked up your profile. But I've known you for a while now, and the first time we met was because of a Yaria event, I remember.
Yeah.
And back then you were a little in the closet. I remember back then only asking you to please come and do the podcast.
Absolutely.
And you were like, no, when the time is right, and the time is finally right. But I remember that event, and I speak about it very openly post that as well, because it was revolutionary in the way that it had people having fun. Youngsters got to drink and dance and do whatever.
Sorry, this was just a party.
Yeah, it was 2-3 years ago, I think.
It was a party for people who were attending it, but we had a lot of motive behind it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was hosting the event, and the idea was to make STD accessible, not make knowledge about STD accessible.
Oh my God.
It was knowledge about HIV and STIs accessible,
STIs,
and make it a lot more not stigmatized in a way to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it was called Mixer with a Twist.
Okay.
Yeah, where we have people where there was alcohol, there was dancing, there were games, but then there was also a lot of information that was floating that was about HIV and STIs.
Okay.
And we were giving out free lube and condoms, which lasted me for months.
You know what's... I'm sorry, you're out of the closet.
Yes.
What sexual are you?
Queer.
Queer.
Yeah.
Okay. It's amazing how many women are talking about STIs and no gay boys talking about... at least I just keep encountering women who are putting the dialogue out there, who are sort of giving these spaces, like when we met the SARS girls last time. But Yeah, why aren't gay boys doing it? They are also, but like...
But I think the perfect person to ask is also Richa, because she's like spent a lot of time
Sure.
working with clients.
I just feel, again, maybe it's my stupidity to think that, and I don't want to say this, but like, maybe a lesbian wouldn't like, why would she worry about STIs? I guess I'm coming from that level of ignorance in some sense. So so how did you, why that conversation? Why would you put that across? I just want to like pick your brain about that for a second.
So I think we feel that lesbian women, or just women in general who are attracted to other women, will not worry about STI or HIV.
Yeah.
But I think if you're looking at bisexual women or just queer women who are attracted to men and women both, the risk of HIV or STI is as equal as someone who's a gay man.
That is brand new information to me. Because I always felt like, no, must be just UTIs. They give each other UTIs. I mean, sorry, I know how I'm sounding as I say this. Please correct me. That's a large part of this show where I learn. But like, I just thought it's a UTI thing. Why would they worry? Like, what could possibly happen with some scissoring? I don't know.
I mean, STI is so common. I mean, you could absolutely get chlamydia. You can absolutely get gonorrhea. You can absolutely get syphilis. And we're like, I wasn't thinking of this. And so a lot of my work while I was working at Humsafar would be, okay, use a condom while you're giving blowjobs. But then when you think about it, it isn't easy. And, you know, that's how difficult it is. Because when you're educating people that, okay, you're supposed to do this, you should be doing this. And when you think about it, it isn't easy. And then a lot of my work would also be creating trigger situations where I'm like, okay, so you say that, okay, I will absolutely use condoms from now, flavored condoms, because it's going to make, oral sex much easier. But when you are in that situation, I would, like, in a counseling room, I would throw situations. So, okay, what happens if you meet a hot guy? Are you then going to continue using a condom? So we would do a lot of role plays and just, trying to understand that when you are literally in that situation, it's not going to be as easy when you're talking about it.
It's so easy to just throw it out of the window, to just assume. I know this for a fact because sometimes I'm guilty of thinking of it, but even I sometimes feel like the more attractive the person, the lesser the chance of an STI. Like, that is such a stupid thought. So I know also how stupid it is to think that.
Yeah.
But like,
he's clean looking, he doesn't look like someone who'll have an STI.
So many times when I'm like sexting, obviously, like, sexting has like a porn-like format also. Oh, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this.
Yeah.
And when someone says, I want you to come inside me, I would be like, sure. But in bracket, I always like, safe sex always. I always do that. And they're like, no, I trust you. And I'm like, yeah, don't trust me. But then again, like you said, when I went to Humsafar, when I had a scare once, I went through the whole, there was this doctor, she took me through the whole, what am I not supposed to do? And in my head, I was like, yaar, to fir baki kya reh gaya? Like, what can I do? Because she's like, even if you wore a condom, was this part covered by the condom? She went into it.
Absolutely.
And I was like, wow, no. Like, I get how, if I'm so reluctant, there must be so many people out there who just don't consider this.
I've had a lot of people who just come to me like, he looked clean. I checked everything. You can check, but how much do you even know? What if, like, syphilis ka check karne ka kya hota hai? There's a spot on your palm. After that, you cannot see anything for the next 6 months. How do you know if the person, has an STI or not?
I got a pimple, I think syphilis. I'm one of those people.
So it's obviously scary, but like, if you think about it, a lot of people don't we just know that, okay, penetration is where we have to take care of each other, and because all of that. But as you said, like, even blowjobs need to be covered with condoms.
And even in there, the conversation keeps breaking up. So like, I have a friend, he very vocally says, no, when I top, it's okay because then the chances are less. But I'm like, yeah, do you listen to yourself a little? Because
so a lot
he feels
of people say that.
And it is a statistic. Bottoming, even then it breaks down, right? Like, in bottoming, the chances are more. If you're circumcised, the chances are more uncircumcised. This is and it's like Google, if you go for all this information, you'll just get
then
lost.
Definitely have all of them. That's how, Google is everything. If you're feeling heart pain, I'm like,
oh my God, I got a spasm yesterday. Google said some fucking lung cancer. And I'm like, no, oh my God. Yeah.
I went to a party a couple of days ago and I hurled everything out. And my ribs haven't stopped hurting. They're just my ribs are constantly
I know that pain. I know that pain for a different reason. You know what I'm kind of addicted to? Do you know what chinkni is?
Oh, yeah.
I sometimes just once or twice
Snuff
a week
powder.
I do chinkni.
What is chinkni?
It's just like this powder that makes you sneeze like crazy.
Your grandparents used to do that, remember?
No, that was
It's
thapki.
very-
That was thapki and that was tobacco.
No,
that was tobacco.
they have chickney also like that.
Chinkni is just
Chinkni.
straight up. It's like a little powder. You just sniff it a little, and it makes you. It's basically for headaches because sometimes I get migraines. Sneezing helps a lot, like for some, because I don't know if it's the rush of blood to the head or what.
Yeah.
But I do chinkni and nose open,
Everything,
runny.
yeah.
You just
Wow.
feel like way
I've
better.
never heard of this
But then
before.
your ribs, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, because you sneeze your lungs out, okay? And I think is once in school in 8th standard, one guy got his grandmom's entire box stash, okay? And we, of course, like 8th standard kids, like fucking right level of hormonal and psychopath to like, put that on the fan of the class.
That is crazy.
We put the entire content
is such a good
on
idea.
3 blades and turned the fan on in the recess. Now the entire class is sneezing.
I literally just want to go back to school so I
The
can do
teacher
that.
came in and she was like, there was one girl who sneezed, was like just like lying down. She sneezed, banged her head against the table, and bounced back and banged her head back again. It was hilarious to see. It was all happening in slow motion for me.
This is like that fire drill episode in
Yeah,
Office.
and I was complicit in this. So like, I was really scared when the teacher was like, "Who did this?" But the guy who got the snuff powder got caught, and
Oh, shit.
Daniel,
Oh
I
my
remember,
God.
Daniel Chettiar. Anyways, but
We digress.
that happened.
Yeah.
But coming back to your life, Richa, you spent a lot of time in Humsafar and you must have been through like a gamut of cases and had experience like probably what a lot of people don't know also what about, as you said, like the condom wearing and blowjob part. What other things do you have to tell people that they have just been ignoring all their life?
So I think there were a good number of things with regards to mental health, physical health. So I would mainly focus a lot on mental health and would also focus on physical health. So that's where HIV would come in. So I've also counseled a lot of people who are HIV positive and a lot of people who do not have HIV, like who are not people living with HIV but have an anxiety. So when we're talking about anxiety, बहुत easy सा word है. It's very easy to say anxiety. Everybody nowadays uses this word so loosely that, I think I have this anxiety, I have that anxiety. But for a lot of men who have sex with other men, it used to be a lot of I had sex with somebody, I used condoms and
But
it was
still.
absolutely protective sex, but I am still fearing the fact that I'm going to get HIV. So I will first get myself tested. Now I'm going to wait for 3 months because that's the window period. So I'm going to wait for 3 months and then again I'm going to get my self tested because I'm still not satisfied with what I feel it is. And then you start realizing that there's a pattern that's going on over here and it's not just a simple scare, but it's a lot more pathological in nature. So anxiety with regards to an HIV or STI, and their questions used to be very difficult. Ki, if there's blood on a commode and if I sit on that commode and after that, is there a possibility that I don't know whether this blood even has HIV or not, but is there a possibility that I will get HIV because of that, So then that's when you know that there is of course something where we are focusing on physical health, but there is also something which is alarming, that is mental health.
Yeah, also because a lot of what people know about AIDS and HIV is a lot of hearsay, right? It's all like people just assume certain things. I remember again, like when we were in 7th and we were going to a camp and we had like gathered in school early morning near the school grotto. This one kid is like, guys, I learned something yesterday. And we're like, what? If you have sex with one person and then you have sex with one more person, then all of you will get AIDS. And we just like assume that, that's why, like if you fuck around, basically, if you're promiscuous, then you get AIDS. Which is in a way true, but like it's bottled down to a child's mind where it's just like 2 people and you're done.
I also feel it has a lot to do with just it's peddled, the idea of AIDS and HIV. It's always peddled. I remember in 95 when Titanic it released, do you know that popular
Balbir Pasha ko AIDS kyun hai?
No, my God, the popular rumor, it was like a urban legend where if you go to watch Titanic, because that was a houseful 2 years straight kind of a movie back then, like, you leave the theater and you look at your arm, there's a sticker stuck saying you've got AIDS. So there was someone who was like injecting people.
Oh yeah, I've
while
heard
you're
that
watching. You know what I mean?
I've heard
like,
that in a
just
different way though.
Now as an adult, when I hear it, I just feel like it scares you.
Yeah,
like not it's stupid that you would not know someone just fucking this, but like it's just always somehow comes to you, information about HIV or AIDS just comes to you in a scary way.
Yeah.
You know?
Like the Balbir Pasha ko AIDS Kyun Hai ad was pretty famous. Like even kids were watching it back in the day. I remember Nawazuddin Siddiqui.
It was honestly the first viral in its own sense. Yeah.
Nawazuddin Siddiqui played a small character also in that ad series.
Okay.
But the idea was like, if somebody is called Balbir Pasha, they are the infected one, right? So one guy in my class got called that because he claimed to have sex with a girl, okay? At around 20 in 9th standard. And then that name stuck to him. And then whenever someone called him out, he would get such a rage fit that he would start beating up the guys. And that became a whole thing that people call him and run away. But that's what the stigma came in before that conversation was ever opened up for any of our kids' mind, you know?
And it's so funny, we are talking about these things 10 years, 15 years ago, but I guess stigma is just as fucking prevalent.
Yeah, nothing's changed really.
Yeah.
Like I spoke to Gautam Yadav on the show only, like in the first season, and he mentioned that like we worry about just like telling our parents about our queerness or about like our affairs and whatever. But for him, coming out was the most difficult thing because at the age of 18 he was diagnosed with HIV, right? So for him, like backtracking and making his family understand and come to terms with what he is doing in life was very difficult. And now like he's traveling the world over and talking about it like to several other marginalized people, and that's amazing. So we definitely need more HIV positive role models, but also like the stigma, because even now when we speak about it, it's like we come from an angle of fear, right? We like blowjob condoms, anal condoms, like sniffing somebody. Now we have to like put them in a polythene bag for that reason. So we are not only driven by the same amount of fear, but also about same amount of lackadaisical attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, while most, as I said, like most guys, once you hook up with them, they're like, hey, why not just like go for it? Like long back when I was first learning to like get to practice anal for that matter. Like it's not never the first time that you work it out, right? One of these people who eased me into it was very reluctant to use a condom. Like I would see there was a packet over there, and then he would still be like, it's not there in my house. I'm like, it's right there. He's like, no, it's not there. I'm like, okay, then cool. So then I stopped going and meeting him.
But I guess, and this is something from a conversation I had at Humsafar once, I understood how much of it is a mental issue than it is an actual, because then I found out about risks, what are high risk patients, low risk people who would possibly, and I'll tell you what, and again if I'm being candid, I had a very specific, when I was around 26, when my bipolar was at its full I remember I started doing a lot of things that I felt were self-destructive and venturing on. It started with, why don't you just come on my ass, to like, come on my hole. It started getting there. And I started then, like you said, blood on commode. Here I am getting this guy to jizz on my asshole. Oh my God, I've definitely got it. I had that whole phase. But again, through therapy, everything, I started understanding that this is just high risk behavior that I'm playing on. It's in some way self-destructive.
So that's a very important connection. So there was one thing that I did work while I was in Humsafar, where we were connecting self-esteem to high-risky sexual behavior. So if you have a low self-esteem, that's going to make you take more risk. So if I'm going to be like, no, I'm just, I'm shit and there's no point about this, and if I go to randomly meet a guy and he'll be like, chalna condom ke bina karte hai, I will end up having condomless sex with him. I will not think about a condom because there's so many other things that's going on in my health.
Correct me where I am wrong on this. I feel like, wouldn't it be the opposite, where someone who's so like, I am perfect, nothing could happen to me, is someone who'd engage in something like that?
So with them, I mean, that would also be the case. But also a lot of people, when we are talking about mental health, it is about ki there are so many things that are happening in my head. So in this point of time, this is just going to be instant gratification. I'm just going to be like, theek hai, kar lete hai. But I'm not going to think about whether I'm doing it the right way, whether I'm using protection or not.
And it's slow. Because the first few times I was a little like, hey Farhad, you need to, whatever this is, figure it out, because this is not. Because I remember my shrink's face when I would tell him about something like this.
I heard that a lot.
It's a big no-no. It's a big, he's very chill. Sometimes I'd say the most darkest things in therapy, he'd be very chill. But I guess because apart from me, he would see so many other gay boys, and that was a big no-no. Like, condomless sex is a big no-no from my shrink. Like, hey, whatever. Like
Yeah.
of course, he's very open and approving of sexuality in general, but condomless sex is that would scare me even more. Like, oh my God, he's so serious about this particular thing that I need. And then I'd fuck up even more sometimes because I thought like, oh, that's so serious. So I have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a
So I had a lot of clients who would come to me, so I would have follow-ups with them. So they would come back and so I used to ask them, अच्छा तो इस बार क्या आप condom के साथ sex कर पाए? So like, हाँ, आप हमारे सामने आ गए. Like your face came in front of me. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But then I'm like, okay, whatever. Till the time it's working in our favor, and there would be a lot of people who would say that to me, and I used to be like, all right. But it would really work for them, where they are entering a situation and then they'll just suddenly remember the person who's been giving them gyan. The interesting bit is going back to something that you were speaking earlier. I've realized that how many of you are you all on Grindr?
No.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so do you know you can put your status on Grindr?
Sure.
Yeah.
So have you put your status on Grindr?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was there, yeah.
Like last tested and
yeah. And would you go out with someone who says that they're HIV positive?
The thing is, no. It's not. Number one, I
decision,
like.
yeah.
No. I'll tell you why. Because Grindr, I feel like that's smart of them. They've done you can't search by this. If you happen to stumble upon, that's one thing. Because that's a paid feature, by the way, to look for other HIV positive people. Would I only know one person, and he's already a friend, so I don't know how to answer that.
So I had found this. So this was again another research study that we had done. So when you ask someone, have you put in the last time you've gotten yourself tested? But when it comes to would you then have sex with somebody who has very clearly written, then they'd be like, nahi, मैं उसको मिल लूँगा, and I'll probably go out on a date with them, but I wouldn't have sex with them. So that's the entire thing that we're talking about. That we talk about it like, okay, it's cool, it's fine, but then when you are in that situation,
it's not a death sentence anymore. Like no, because I remember we not very long ago had a conversation where I know so many of my friends engaging now in risky behavior because
prep.
Like prep is there. Prep fine, okay, but like they just feel like it's not a death sentence anymore. If I can use the term, what are they called? My friend says it, a bug chaser.
Yeah.
He's a bug chaser. He's very vocally a bug chaser. He's not on prep, and I absolutely love him, and he can almost convince you that, okay, he's figured it out. He wants it. He'll get it. Yeah. I don't think he'll have any remorse if he does.
I once met a man like that who's like, if you're going to worry about everything, then it's going to happen to you anyways.
Yeah.
So like, just
might as well.
And I'm like, bye.
No, but that's the thing, right? Like I'm saying, that's the gradient scale here. Here you have on one end the extremely terrified, even from a kiss, I can get an STD. To you have a person who wants.
But kiss can give you an oral STI.
Sure.
But that's what. So that's what I'm saying. The language is so tricky around it because people. Okay, there are medias that have convinced me that kissing an HIV positive person will not give me HIV.
Shabana Azmi said that.
So,
I mean, if someone has an herpes, if someone has an oral herpes,
so I think we should be able to like identify and understand very clearly. So educate us, Richa. What STIs can I get when I make out with somebody?
Very common. You can get syphilis, you can get gonorrhea, you can get chlamydia, you can get herpes. These are 4 very commonly, and you can't always say that you can see it. So that's the thing that I was going back to what I was saying earlier.
Because like you have a boil on your lips and everybody starts screaming herpes at you.
I freaked out recently. 2 weeks ago, I was kind of making out with this boy, very sweet guy, and he just kept going, don't, like, he kept like, and I was like, what's the deal? Like, is my breath there? What's happening? He's like, no, it's hurting because I have an ulcer behind my lip. You know what I mean? And then he showed it to me. It was like the most like textbook chota usko heat ki wajah, whatever. I don't know what that, but suddenly I'm like, fuck, I've been kissing this dude. What the hell is going on? And all. He's like, no, dahi khata hu to nahi. But
that's another thing where you spoke about prep. Now so a lot of people I know that who are on prep are not using condoms anymore. Now that makes it difficult because you are protecting yourself from HIV but not from STIs. So then you're still going to get STIs.
Also, can you debunk something for me?
Haan.
Is it 100% prep?
No. Nothing
No,
is
right?
100%.
There's a 95%.
Yeah, there's nothing that's 100%.
Even people who like advocate prep say that it's only preventing you. Like it's not going to solve all your problems in life. You still have to be careful.
It's like prep plus condoms. Everybody forgets the plus condoms. Everybody only focuses on मैं prep पे हूँ. But
P plus C.
Sometimes I really think I wish there was some sort of poem or some sort of literature that wrote why. Oh shit, I don't know where I'm going with this, but what it is, because when you boil down to it, man, have you ever had unprotected sex?
Of course.
Yeah, I've had unprotected sex. How do you tell a person that you can't convince someone that this is better? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
A lot of times,
Exactly.
a lot of times trying to tell someone that, I guess the crux of the conversation is you convince this person that it's better to be safe than sorry. Yeah. But that feeling is not going to be, what is it that we crave so much about unprotected? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It totally just
It's
robs us of
visceral,
the experience.
human, like that fucking
Fuck
experience.
knows.
So you practice on what is it that you crave about.
No,
so
I have a sex toy. I love it. Like, I talk
not
to it
like
sometimes.
that.
I talk to my dildo so many times. So
Don't
being
call me that.
my electron... my battery operated boyfriend, you know what I mean? He feels great, but when there's an actual penis in the equation, I'm like, why is it any different from like a latex rubber on it? You know what I mean? Like,
The throb effect.
what is it? I wish there was some sort of
Yeah,
literature
you
that
can't quite decipher
described
it.
it.
And like, Richa, like, what the fuck are these guys
Yeah.
again talking about?
Sorry.
But even your clients must have told you the same thing. That real feel, like you chase it and then you
condoms के साथ मजा नहीं आता है.
Exactly.
सबसे common condom के साथ मजा नहीं आता है. So we kind of practice on it. कि what is it that it's in your head. Okay, I will say that because we feel कि अच्छा condom के साथ मजा नहीं आता है. But why is it that you feel that way? What is it? What is different? Try to question that because that's in your head. Try to question.
That's the thing. There's no words to describe it. But what's the consensus?
I'll give my 2 cents. Okay.
I'll tell you what. I'm totally fine with, if I'm being the top, I'm totally fine with wearing a condom. I feel the same. Sorry if this is too TMI.
You think she hasn't heard
But
already?
I know when I'm bottoming, it makes like the world of a difference. When I had a boyfriend and I was having unprotected sex, it was like, holy shit, where were you all my life? Because I lived most of my life as a top, and suddenly I was like, pleasure will not go beyond this. In sexual terms, when I got fucked without a condom back then in my previous relationship, I was like, this is the paragon, the Sistine Chapel of sex. You know, like.
So that's what happened with me as well, where when I'm in a steady relationship, I confide myself to just like being with that person. So it just... then we do the initial check.
Sure.
So that's very tricky.
I know exactly what I was coming from.
यही होता है कि you and your partner might be monogamous right now, but you don't always know if the opposite person... Which is why
so we are never fucking loyal, or like we never end up with one person for so long.
Because what happened.
Yeah.
It gets risky. So that's where
But the other thing, right, for me, okay, I'll tell you my experience was like, I'm always on the top side.
Sure.
I've tried bottoming a bunch of times and didn't work out for me.
Sure.
But my partners who have bottomed for me, like I have the gift of the ooze, so to say.
What does that mean?
That means I'm naturally lubricated. I don't need to rely on synthetic stuff. So they prefer that, which is just like easier because that's how nature intended it to be.
Sure.
And I find myself like in a duality of sorts where I'm like, okay, so they want it, I also want it, because that immediate touch and feel of what the real skin feels down there is different than when you put like an entire barrier. So for me, I feel like psychologically that's one barrier where I'm just like, I'm cutting away the essence and the feel of it all. But I still have to do it. Like I force myself. I'm like, no matter how comfy you are with the idea, you have to fucking pinch yourself. I do all these stupid things where I'm just like, I'll hover, but I'm not going to come close. But I'm just like, so you have to like really mentally take a step back, and it's not easy in the heat of the moment. It's never easy.
It's never. That's what I'm like.
Absolutely. And that's why we do something called as condom negotiation. So with my
sounds, oh my god, it should be a movie scene.
So there's this condom negotiation with your clients where we will focus on these things, because when I then on a PPT show you those STIs, I will talk about
like pictures.
Very
so that's
descriptive.
Like scare. Does that work?
It has worked for clients in a way that they would not want to have sex for a while after that. And I'm like, no, that's not what my point was. My point was that
won't the world give up cigarettes if that won't it only scare you more? I just want to know. This is the first time I'm hearing
Yeah,
of showing them pictures because I've done it, right? I've Googled, oh my God, is this an STD?
Difference is visual and like internal, right? Smoking is like clearly affecting your lungs. So you're like, "Ki, haan, my lungs are fine, seem fine." But when you can see visual gashes on your body, you'll have to be like, I have to stop somewhere.
I don't know about that. I just feel like scaring someone. Because again, I come from a point where I used to be myself a high risk. Not a high risk, but I was like flirting around with the whole concept of unprotected sex for a while. And now I know better. That's why I just do it. And I'll also tell you that a lot of times I find myself single. I get where both of you, like you said, like, oh, when I'm in a relationship, I can let go a little. But that's exactly what went wrong in my previous relationship, that where I not only found out that my boyfriend was cheating, I also found out that he made a very specific request to that person he cheated with to not wear a condom. And when I found out about that, I just totally stepped back from the entire what is my life, like this is a person I love profusely, and not only leave alone dealing with the fact, because that's what happens, right? Sometimes these are the comparisons I make with straight people, like y'all don't have this, y'all don't have stealthers in the community who tear condoms intentionally, y'all don't have this kind of stuff to be scared about. We as gay people constantly have to worry about shit like this.
Right. I know that happens, like you know, with stealthing, you don't even realize at one point, because I think you're well lubricated, you won't even realize कि condom किसी ने कब कैसे निकाल दिया है. And then you might have absolutely wanted to have protective sex, but it clearly didn't turn out to be that way.
And there's no law. I'm sure there are laws around this, but like, what do you do? He'll just say, oh, फट गया, I didn't know. What do you say to that?
तो मैंने उसके बाद, and that's another thing. So we get into such details with clients कि अगर फट गया, so for example, condom फट गया, did you take an effort to put a new condom after that? So in that moment, you'll be like, nee, let's just continue because we're in the flow. We don't want to break whatever it is. But that's how detailed we kind of get with clients.
So, Richa, you get like, obviously from here only you open like an entire Pandora's box. But how do you deal with it? Like after listening to so much, there must have been some personal...
More than deal with it, I'd like to know, what would you say to people like us? Like... who, not us, but like just someone who's engaging in this sort of high risk behavior, who's like, no, it's way better bareback than this. It's might as well get. What is there like some sort of a sentence, some sort of a like motto or something? You know what I mean?
So
you can think about it if you want.
I kind of connect self-care to doing something like this. Ki how much do you love yourself, and till what point do you say you love yourself? Ki अगर ऐसा कुछ होगा तो you are then putting yourself at a risk. So is it okay for you to do something like that? It's a very momentary pleasure कि उस समय बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, and वो literally 2 minute या 3 minute की बात है. But then what after that? How are you going to be able to deal with a situation like that? So you kind of walk the person through कि इसके बाद क्या होने के chances है. Will you be able to take something like that? So if it is someone who will become HIV positive, are you going to be able to deal with ART medication for the rest of your life?
You can afford it also for that.
Yeah, afford it also. So there are many things. So you kind of talk, and that's how I kind of, because self-care is very, very important. This is a part of self-care. Matlab, if I am
fucking put aloe vera on your face, but then
you put aloe vera down there, you put Vaseline down there, you'll put everything down there, but you'll forget the condom. Although all of this is wrong, you should not
Vaseline.
Like nothing. You should only use a water-based lubricant.
KY jelly.
Yeah, because then tearing of condom also is like with oil, with ghee, or whatever you
with
use.
anything. Even like
oh my god. That's the first time I heard of ghee, by the way.
Oh no, so like on Sridhar's episode when we had done like back in season 1, he told us like back in the 80s and 90s when like being gay was like not on Grindr, and you have to like hook up on
the
bathroom stalls, for example. So there was one guy who would just come with a bucket of ghee.
Oh my! A bucket of ghee.
Not because it was like an entire.
Was he having sex in a cow shed?
No, in a urinal, dude. Like with like a bunch of other men who were at the urinal, and he was famously known as the ghee queen. That's the story she told me.
Wow!
And it's like Bombay from the 80s.
Oh my god! I'm glad you clarified.
There's another thing. So there's another thing where if you use 2 condoms at one time, that's going to give you more protection.
Sure.
A lot of people feel that, but then again, that's wrong.
But I'm listening to you talk, and I feel like it falls on deaf ears. I don't think anybody is like, that's scared nowadays. I literally,
I'll tell you also why, because and that very event was an example of what we're talking about, right? When we did the whole activity, we had like people getting condoms thrown at them, like, hey, you get a condom.
Sure.
The whole event was done. People were like winning contests and they were getting prizes, and everybody was happy.
Yeah.
Cut to when the dance floor was open, there were two dudes macking like there was no end, at the bar counter, making not only the bar staff uncomfortable, but even queer people who are just there to have a good time uncomfortable. So I'm saying, like, from what we plan to do with the event, for it to go into a sex zone, it takes no time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the worry with parties. So as Yaria would never focus on parties. So we were all about no, safe space. But we thought, chalo, let's try this new concept. Let's try how this is going to work. And we knew that realistically speaking, it is going to probably reach something like that. But we were like, okay, let's see how it's going to be. And then we had our volunteers in the bathroom ki yahan par nahi chalo bahar chalo. You have to do all this policing, unfortunately.
Like how much you have to think backwards to make sure that the event is not inundated by gay dudes doing shit anyway.
Unfortunately, if you're consensually doing something, it's okay. But there's molesting also that ends up happening at such events, and you don't want then, something like a Yaria, which is a support group, which is a safe space. Ki aise event mein na meko kisi ne molest kar liya.
Yeah, it's a grey area entirely. And
cool. We'll take a small break here at this point, and Richa, thank you so much for already giving us so much information. We'll come back and talk about more work that Richa is doing recently. We're keeping it queer, Farhad, Richa, and I. We'll see you on the other side.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As I have asked you guys before, if you're finding what you listen to interesting, then please take a screenshot of what you're listening to, send us a note with it, tag us on social media. We'll either, talk about it, we'll take the feedback into consideration, or we'll repost it. We just really appreciate getting feedback like that, as do all of our hosts. Also, want to mention the fact that we're still hiring at the best place on earth to work in, which is the IVM Podcast Network. So if you're interested, please do send us an email to careers@indusvox.com. One other thing I wanted to mention, that this is the week of the crossover. We have not one, not two, not three, but 4 crossovers this week on the network. Hosts from one show are showing up on another. And so if you'd like to listen to your favorite host in a different context, stay tuned and find out where they appear. On the Ronnie Screwvala podcast, Ronnie talks to me about the importance of focus, empathy, and choices, and how those 3 aspects have formed the crux of his journey. On Cyrus Says, we have a crossover episode as film and TV journalists and hosts of the podcast on the very IVM network that you're listening to right now. Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Anirudh and Janice Sequeira talk to Cyrus about how spouses with different tastes in TV get along, how to interview celebrities, and the onslaught of remakes. On Ganatantra, Alok and Saryu talk about the institutional tug-of-war between the judiciary and the political executive over appointment of High Court and Supreme Court judges. You can also catch Ganatantra host Alok Prasanna Kumar as a guest on the Pragati podcast, talking to Pawan Srinath about how India's anti-defection law has undermined democracy. On a simplified shorty, Chuck Naren and Shrikhet talk about all of the other unusual variants of cricket which are played around the world. Things like whoop cricket and stuff like that. I think you'll enjoy that. On Keeping It Queer, Navin and Farhad are joined by Mr. Gay World India, Suresh Ramdas. He throws light on gay pageants and why this representation matters. On States of Anarchy, Anohita Majumdar of Himal South Asian joins Humsafar to discuss the crackdown on press freedoms across South Asia. On Paperback, the founder of Arugula & Company, Niharika Goenka, joins Satyajit and Racheta to discuss her secrets to the healthy lifestyle and books that motivate her thoughts. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Welcome back to Keeping It Queer, everybody. My name's Naveen, and with me, Farhad.
yeah.
And today we're talking to Richa Vashista. And Richa, as we mentioned earlier, I wanted you to come 2 years ago on the show. And you were hesitant. What was the reason behind it?
I was not out of the closet at that point of time.
Okay.
And yeah, I think it was stupid and funny now that I think about it. But yeah, so I would do a lot of work. And I would also have a lot of people know about me. But
yeah, exactly. Because I was like, you're front and center.
How long have you been a therapist?
Since 2014.
5
so
years.
that's 5 years, and you've been 3 out of those years you were in the closet. While you were doing this, what is that like?
It was very interesting.
Like being in the closet, but
yeah. So it was very, very interesting. So right now I would be like, I am a queer mental health professional. Then I was only a mental health professional. Okay. So the queer came in very recently. Okay. And it was empowering that I could finally do it. And it was more like in my head ki, acha, I've not told my parents, but I didn't realize that in all these years I was sensitizing them, and how that when I did finally come out to them, it was a joke. It was really a joke. Like,
Okay.
then I thought about it, that why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do this earlier?
Okay.
So yeah, that's what happened. So before I came out of the closet, so I literally came out a couple of months ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although it doesn't feel like it just feels like I've done this long back. It was this last.
Comfortable living the lie.
Yeah. But then, so I came out some months ago, and I was very scared because I'd made like different situations in my head, and I'm like, nee, my mom's going to feel this way, my dad's going to feel this way. My biggest concern was always that they're going to feel Humsafar Trust converted me for the reason that I discovered my sexuality only after I joined Humsafar Trust. Now, so I would be like, nee, my parents are going to feel that way, and then my entire professional life is also going to be at risk. So I did come out to them, and one after the other. I first came out to my mom, and then I came out to my dad. And my mom was like, meko to malum tha, I knew. I mean, I always knew it. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, and so I gave her different scenarios that, maybe I will want to be with a woman, maybe we will want to settle together. She's like, I get it. I understand. That is the point of it.
So
why else would you tell me?
You were breaking it down to her. Like, did you explain the term queer or lesbian? Like, because
no, so I did. I told her I identify as queer. So she was like, what does that mean? I said, it means that I can fall in love with anybody. It doesn't really matter. The gender doesn't really matter to me.
Or
It
the
could be
orientation doesn't matter,
for me, it's the gender. Orientation to baad mein aata hai. Ki I wouldn't even know ki, if it's a man, it's a woman, it's a non-binary person.
Correct. So how did Humsafar help you like come to terms with that?
So like I was telling you earlier during the break that there has been a very interesting personal and professional journey while I was working at Humsafar Trust. So when I joined Humsafar Trust,
You
even
met your girlfriend.
Yeah, no.
No, okay.
So when I joined Humsafar Trust, I was just like, even during the interview, I was like, main to straight hu, I am so straight, and that's what I always thought, that okay, I think I'm straight. And 1 year I questioned myself. I'm like, wow, there are so many queer people around me, and this feels like such a safe space. And I'm like, okay, is it possible that I like women? And I'm like, no, this is not happening. I don't feel this way. But then I think at one point it just naturally,
The coin dropped.
the coin dropped. It happened in 2015, and it wasn't like anything from coming out till now has never been a struggle for me. I won't say it's a struggle. It was thoda sa like, acha aisa, okay, fine, let's see what it is. And I was always like, fine, let's see what happens. The only thing was when I am worried to come out to my family, because then my work will be at risk. I just thought that if I'm at Humsafar and I come out to my family, what if they tell me don't work here anymore? I'm like, no, but I'm very happy working here. Like I'm getting such job satisfaction. So I was like, no. Only once I finally leave this organization, it was a mental block. Only once I finally leave this organization will I be able to tell them. But I feel when I think about it, I feel like we are so classically conditioned that when we are all growing up, we see a mother and a father. We'll see all the girls, like I came from a girls' convent. We'll see all the girls talking about boys, and it was all about girl and boy, like very, very heteronormative in nature. So I think that's how I had probably thought of it in my head as well. So, and then for it to, I mean, sexuality and understanding your orientation can happen at any age. I can come to know about myself when I'm 17. I can come to know myself at 27, but I know also, like I've had clients who have come out to me when they were 50. So you never know when you come to know. But I'm glad that I came to know myself at an earlier age.
Okay.
Then coming to know once I've had kids, I've had children, and I've had a husband with me. So I think
thousands and millions of people might.
I've met a lot of people through like dating platforms as well, and why. Like I don't look at like younger profiles usually for that very reason, because I don't think young boys offer much in terms of
they
background.
don't bring much value.
Yeah, but older men, like I generally like I wrote an entire article about this, and like the treasure trove of information, like they've lived entire lives not knowing what side the coin falls for that matter, right? And then like years later they realize, and some of them like live such wholesome lives at that point, because after 40 you don't really regret
they
much.
are past denial.
Yeah, they're like kya karenge? Like will they like fucking finish my life? Because there's not much to left left with anyways. So I see just such confidence, and there's definitely like a shift in like perception also. It's a good thing. I feel like
even
finding out who you are at any point in life is
even though I'm constantly chasing twinks, I felt like my best date was a divorcee with 2 kids who came out to his family. It was all in the, like he came out at 40, 45 and his kids are in college, like one's almost my age. And like I was like amazed. Like that was the best date because it just felt like this
Same.
guy knows the drill. You
Yeah.
know, he's been through it. He knows what it's like.
Like my personal favorite was like this widow I had met, and then like we got drinking and everything, but like, we were never intended to like fuck as such because we were just like talking about life and everything, and the way he told me about how he loved his wife and what happened to her and the tragic story behind that, it broke my heart. Like, but it also felt good that he is not using that story as a means to like just get laid, but also like he chose me to like, you know, open up about it, and the fact that I can empathize with it. I don't want to be that person who like, can we just get on with the story and just like have sex right now? Because a lot of time that's what happens. People don't want to like,
because a lot of times I feel like they're compensating for lost time.
Yeah.
I feel that happens a lot with older men because like they've not had their sexual awakening early on, so they feel it's time's running out now. I'm fucking 45, my wife's no more, or I'm divorced, and now I need now. That was the only downside of that date that I was talking about, where he very visibly wanted to like get down to it because like, oh, you know what, I've lost a lot of time doing this whole family routine.
like show me your mouth first. Show me that ulcer.
You know,
Dahi nahi khate ho.
although it isn't very easy. So I had this one particular client who was 55, married for I don't know how many years, 30 plus years. 28 years. He has 2 children who are 22 and 24, and so all this while he was only attracted to women, and it was about his wife, and suddenly he fell in love with his neighbor who was a man. And
I watched that movie.
so he fell in love with his neighbor who was a man, and he was just like, he initially ignored it. 6 months he totally ignored it, and then it just started eating him up. It really started eating him up, and his wife and him anyway, their sexual relationship wasn't that great, so it was more of a family, and you know, that's about it. Then he finally found out about Humsafar Trust, and he came and visited me for a session. And then he told me कि all this while it was about women and, you know, about my wife, and now suddenly मुझे ये आदमी कैसे पसंद आ गया? Like, how did that even happen to me?
So, psychologically speaking, is there like some reasoning behind it, or like it's just
conditioning? I will say conditioning plays a very important role here, because हमारे सिर में यही होता है कि आदमी और औरत, you know, we'll only look at a man and a woman. There is nothing else. Like, we've not been taught anything else. We've never been introduced anything else. And even if it was, you push it. So you know, it goes into your unconscious state of mind. Like, you push it so hard, like then it just one point of time at one day it just comes up, and you don't know when it comes up.
Sorry, but like this is something I want to talk about because it's such a fresh concept. You know me and my history with straight boys. There are so many straight boys who I hook up with who I genuinely believe when they say they are straight. I have no doubt that this guy is going home joking off about guys but secretly only dating girls. I genuinely believe that this guy is that's a new kind of person, sexuality. I don't know what to call it.
So
No, because when you say they suppress,
think
they
this is new,
push,
but
these are
ladies.
people who push, suppress. I tend to think that these are people who are having those thoughts and kind of like, you know, curtailing or curbing. But I feel like there is genuinely a new breed of boys, at least.
I don't think it's new, because even back in the day, they would talk about like how a lot of people who were caught in homosexual acts would blame the visibly queer person, think that he's the one who's trying to convert me, and it's like he's a demon who's getting into me.
I'm not even talking about the down low guys. I'm just saying
sexuality, sexual orientation is one thing, and sexual behavior is the other thing. What you're talking about is more of a sexual behavior.
Always
So
learning this in different
you know, so
ways.
I would want to have sex with a man, like it doesn't matter. But when I'm thinking about it, would I fall in love with another man? That wouldn't happen. So when you're talking about so sexual orientation, you're talking about, I will get goosebumps in my stomach if I look at this guy. You know, something like that. So that is what you're talking about. So there might be straight men who will have sex with other men, but for them it's more of the behavior. Like it's only about sex.
Yeah.
Which
is why I totally stopped doing this whole. There was a point where I would like go like, because I have friends who I've hooked up with who are married now with kids, and earlier I would be like, what the fuck, how could he's ruining her life. But I actually feel like they are very okay in their lives, and I stopped doing that, and I feel like that's a very specific kind of person out there now.
But then there are also some gay men who then choose to get married for society, for family, and
obviously,
you know,
that's
they might then after that maybe have sexual relationships with other men, but then they might not, or you wouldn't know that. But they're very happy in their marriage, and you might look at them and you're like, but how is this even possible? But it's a very, very gray area.
That I
again.
get, with the intention
Because
to
they both go
hide.
shopping together and enjoy it.
No, I get that, with the intention to hide someone going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to specifically pinpoint this one. This is not a person who thinks about men apart from the fact when they are sexually in the moment with a man. I know of boys now who are just very okay with like, hey, okay, a blowjob's a blowjob, I don't care.
Cool.
Who's
There's a
it
new
coming?
breed in town. Farhad claims it, and it's
Hi.
true. Like, moving on.
Find me on Instagram. Sorry.
The curator. So you had to like get away from Humsafar because you wanted to pursue some more passion projects, so to say.
Yeah. So I just realized that my work with Humsafar Trust was kind of done, and I was kind of doing the same thing, and I did not find anything exciting enough anymore, and I wanted to kind of venture out on my own, because I realized that everybody has a target population, that you work with these sets of people, but I wanted to kind of get out of it and just explore in my own way. So for example, I come from a very mental health space, and I realized that यहाँ पर थोड़ा mental health के ऊपर काम हो रहा है, but what beyond this? Like, what if I enter some random place and I want to understand over there what are their thoughts on sexual orientation, gender identity. So I realized that training is something that really interested me. Thanks to Humsafar Trust, I got that opportunity where of course I was doing a lot of therapy, but I would also occasionally do a lot of training. So I wanted to get into the training space where I would either go to clinics, organizations, corporates, and link mental health when it comes to gender and sexuality. So people are talking about gender, people are talking about sexuality, but I will link it to mental health. So how your gender, or how gender in India is affecting a person's mental health, or how your sexuality or sexual orientation can affect your mental health. So I kind of made my own modules, and I would just randomly approach. So I don't have a structure in my mind, or I don't have anything fixed कि हर महीने में ऐसे करती हूँ वैसे करती हूँ, but I just go and I like approach people. If it turns out into something, then yay, then it's awesome. Like somehow the Pride months, clearly because we're talking about it, is the best time when a lot of work is coming your way. Like January and June is when a lot of work really comes your way, because everybody now wants to talk about LGBTQ at work, LGBTQ at college, and it was amazing. Like I went back to my own college and I spoke about mental health and LGBTQ, and to just talk about what my journey has been. Then I went to a couple of offices, corporates, and then last month I got an interesting opportunity where I've been a part of a lot of groups, and I would be like, acha, chalo, let's see if a new opportunity comes my way, because I am in this setup where I'm just freelancing right now. If something interesting comes up, I can take it up. I'm not bogged down to a full-time job where I have to be like, nee, but I can't do this. So there was very interesting. So there was a organization called Barefoot College that was doing a girl empowerment mission with the National Thermal Power Plant. So it was like their larger project was with 20 centers all over India. And so the girl empowerment mission was to kind of focus on different subjects to teach these girls. So they were about 10 to 12-year-old girls, and I taught them gender, but there were also other subjects such as health, environment. We also introduced children's parliament, which was really interesting. Like in a very fun way, we introduced the parliament to them, which they don't know what it's going to be.
Once it's less noisy than the actual parliament.
Yeah, of course. But it was really cute to finally like do this with the kids. So last month, basically, I was with the kids for an entire month in this place called Vidyanchal. It's in Uttar Pradesh, which is about 200 kilometers away from Banaras.
Also, like very enrolled types.
Yeah.
And how many kids were there when you were teaching them?
113 to be precise. There were 113 girls from different government schools, and it was a summer school for them.
Okay.
So NTPC ka plant tha, where they had provided the school, they had provided the hostel to stay in, and we all kind of stayed together. It was a proper residential program for them.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And Barefoot College had trained us on particular curriculums, and I'd taken up gender because of my work and my personal interest in everything. So that was pretty much what I had to do. So initially when I started off, my work before has been with adults and having very different conversation. I realized that even to say something, I had to firstly learn a lot of Hindi. So I'm talking about gender, but then Hindi mein I'm supposed to say ling samanta. I'm talking about gender equality. I realized that, oh my God, this is so not easy, because English as a language has so much to talk about when it comes to gender, sexuality. But when you have to break it down in Hindi, half of these don't have words. Half of these don't have words. You have to like explain the concepts in Hindi. You have to literally explain the concepts in Hindi. And then you don't even, and with kids, it's not like ki chalo class chalu ho gaya, I'm going to now talk for the next 1 hour, chalo class khatam ho gaya. That's not how it works. You have to make it engaging. You have to have activities. So it was interesting because I used a lot of creative forms. So I used puppets. It was interesting because I used puppets for the first time. So puppets के साथ मैंने gender के ऊपर, gender roles के ऊपर, gender stereotypes के ऊपर काफी conversations किए. Then we used theatre as a form where we would, get people do skits. I would be like, okay, try doing a skit on a regular day at your home. And from that, beautifully, like different gender roles and different gender stereotypes would come in, where they would be like, the father is sitting on the chair, the mother is coming and serving food to the, to the father. This child is sitting down and doing her homework. The father is beating the mother. Domestic abuse. There are so many things that would just come, would come up. And that was beautiful for me to then take that forward. So,
because their minds are free flowing as to what's happening.
Absolutely.
But my question is, did you feel like they already had some sort of an idea about sexuality? Like, oh, there are gay people, there are lesbians. Because you said 200 kilometers from Banaras, I want to know how far is
the reach.
Our
gay reach.
Yeah, how far is it?
So sexuality was not a part of the curriculum. It was only gender. Okay. Somehow I got a chance. So it was 113 girls divided into 3 classes. So with 2 classes, it happened to. So it was not a part of my curriculum where I'm supposed to do this, but I happened to have a conversation with them, a very random conversation कि क्या आपको लगता है कि 2 मर्द एक दूसरे से प्यार कर सकते हैं? Or have you ever heard of 2 women being together? And then the stories started coming up. They were very aware कि मेरे मोहल्ले में ये होता है, ये दोनों लड़कियां, ये एक लड़की के जैसा है, ये दोनों एक दूसरे से बहुत प्यार करते हैं. And they were talking about how these 2 girls are very protective of each other. And if someone is making fun of one, the other one उसको धो डालेगा. And so many things. And I initially thought that no, these are 10 to 12-year-old kids in UP, out of all the places. They don't know anything. But I was wrong. They knew so much. And then TV. They spoke about how a lot of episodes from, I don't know, some serials will talk about transgender, will talk about, gay men. Yeah. And they were very aware of it. So then I would interestingly at that point I would be like, अच्छा आपके हिसाब से क्या ये सही है कि क्या ये गलत है? They were like, we don't have a problem. Why will we have a problem? हमारे हिसाब से ये ठीक ही है. Then one girl had said something very sweet. She said कि if 2 women are there and they want to be together, or if there's a boy. So I was talking about the clothing with regards to men and women. So I asked how do you feel, or how will people feel if a boy has to wear a sari? They said कि हमें problem नहीं है, but the society will laugh. लोग उन पर हंसेंगे. I said okay. So then one girl said कि it's laughing is not an issue, but you should not laugh at someone else. And she said it, and that small statement made so much sense. She said कि हंसने में कोई problem नहीं है, पर दूसरों पर नहीं हंसना चाहिए. And these small things, I'm like, wow, this is something like 11-year-old tiny kid is saying to me, and I'm just like, whoa. I actually asked her to go and write it on the board and for everyone to literally process what she said.
Yeah. I think we lose our profoundness as we grow older, because we just I
also guess you said conditioning. Over times, parents will tell them this is the wrong way to. I feel like there's an unlearning that happens. Yeah. They already know the truths.
Because you observe and you take in what you can, and then finally someone like Richa will open the conversation for them, but then they'll have to be shut down sooner or later.
And there's some sort of mold to fit into the more
that's my new goal in life. Catch people young. Really catch kids young.
Yes. That's what our agenda is, you guys. We catch your children 200 kilometers away from Banaras and we turn them into our gang members. But it's interesting, as I said, I traveled 6 cities last year, and with my show basically, and my whole idea was I would do my solo show at the end of the week, but in the meanwhile try to talk to as many people to come to my show in the first place. So flyering was, and I would definitely go to people who were from lower income backgrounds, go to drivers and people who are selling tea, and ask them what they feel. And unanimously, everybody was just amazing. They were like, हाँ, हमें क्या है? It's only the privileged who feel like there's something to lose, there's something at stake that we'll try to usurp. That's why they feel like this is happening. One of the men who was so cute, he was like, so I sometimes struggle with Hindi, not my first language as such, so even that's why I feel like we're so elite, like we're sitting here and talking to English speaking people, but what you have done is real work. But whenever I can, I go to reach out to people, and this one guy, and I don't know, sir, I can't say homosexual to him and be like, हाँ समझ गया. So I'm like, sir, एक इंसान दूसरे इंसान से प्यार करता है. So like, हाँ, लेकिन इंसान कैसा है? I'm like, हाँ, एक मर्द और एक मर्द प्यार करता है. They're like, हाँ, तो हमें क्या प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. I'm like, तो आपको लगता है उनकी शादी हो सकती है? Like, शादी नहीं हो सकती. I'm like, why? Like, हमारी शादी हो गई, हम इतना तड़प रहे हैं. So he's struggling in his own marriage. So why would I want that fate to anybody else, straight or gay? And that was the most hilarious thing that I listened to the entire day. And that makes sense. So, as you said, there's certain unlearning that happens for kids, but some of the older people from our country who are from different parts of the country, from like far off places, have very weirdly cool views about same sex, you know. And they acknowledge the fact that, okay, our temples had it, our gods have done it. Like if they put out Shikandi very fast, they pull out like Arjun's story very fast. So even in our myth, we have had that situation. So it's just like, I think the capitalist agenda mixes with
sometimes
the
it's
hate.
so fragmented even. I have a friend whose mom, now she's come around, she gave him shit for like being gay for a large part of his life. Still, it's a little rocky terrain. Her favorite show is Queer Eye.
Oh.
You know, she loves Queer Eye. She watches Queer Eye all the time. She sits me down, recipes, Queer Eye mein he made this. It's all there.
Avocado.
But it's tough for her to accept that her son is queer. Like, it's such a fragmented...
So that's very common. So I used to think that about my family, okay? So I used to think that about my parents ki, oh, they're very accepting of the work I do and they're very okay with the people who come over and I say that, oh, this person is like this. You know, of course, I used to do that. But I'd be like, nahi, jab khud ki beti ke bare mein baat karna hai na, when you're talking about your own child, then everything changes. And that is the case with a lot of families where I am accepting ki, I'm okay with you. I'm absolutely fine with you. But when it happens in your own family, that's when you're like, oh shit, just hit the ceiling. And I'm like, I really never thought of it this way.
Sorry, you earlier said that you were queer specific therapy. Sorry, what was the term you used? Like
queer mental health professional.
Yeah, how do you okay, apart from people reaching out to you, what do you do to make sure that your clientele is queer? I just want to know, like...
So I don't have a queer clientele. I mean, it's just that majority people who come to me identify as queer. But I've never been specific about it.
What do you think you're doing that attracts this sort of like...
I think word of mouth and I'm just out there and I end up doing... I mean, it just happens that if I go to a particular college or if I go to a organization and I tell them the work that I'm doing, after that Instagram pe mujhe bahut messages aa jate hain. Like I'll have a lot of people reaching out to me either. And then because of Humsafar Trust has really, really put me in the limelight. Like it really, really made my work, gave my work a lot of recognition. So I think, like I said earlier, that I don't have a clinic right now. I don't have a clinic where I will go in and do therapy. Right now, I'm actually surviving on Skype therapy. I'm actually going on, I'm doing Skype counseling. And I just, initially I'd be like, no, how is this going to be possible? But I right now have clients in different parts of the country. I also have clients in US. I have a client in Canada. I have a client in Hong Kong. And these are Indian people who want an Indian face because it's so culture specific. Like when you're talking about this, that person in Canada cannot go and talk to someone, even though it might be a lot more open there, he still wants someone who's Indian to talk about his issues. Like for him it was about, I want to come out to my family. I don't know how to go about with this. How do I do this? You know?
Was he a chef? Anyways, I think we've reached the 1 hour mark on the episode. Which, as I said, like we don't know where we'll go with the show when the episode starts. But as you
Sorry, I have one quick question.
Okay.
Is there a separate kind of like qualification that you need to be an online therapist? Like, is there?
No. So unfortunately in India, aisa kuch...
I don't know. I just
look at everything as a viable career option, right?
No, my God. No, because I used to watch Lisa Kudrow's web therapy.
Oh, yeah.
And in that, her main struggle is like, it's not a valid... So a lot of times I feel, and you're not the first person I'm meeting in person who's doing online therapy. I, in fact, follow OCD Recovery. Do you know OCD Recovery UK? One of the biggest online platforms where there are tons of like therapists who like talk through Instagram lives, they'll talk to you and like sort you out,
Yeah.
and it's paid, by the way. So I wonder if there was like some sort of a different kind of like qualification.
No, so
or,
the
like,
thing
a
is that I've done my
certification.
master's in clinical psychology,
Okay.
and I can now do therapy in whatever way. So whether I do face-to-face therapy or I use,
Sure.
Skype as a
Okay,
medium.
okay.
You also got this like very consoling person. Like you're so full of positivity.
Your vibe.
Your vibe is amazing.
Yeah.
And that helps. I think that's why people want to come back to you. Like, if I was your client, I would definitely like, can you talk to me, please? Give me 2 minutes of your time in your day.
I'm the last
Yeah.
person to be a therapist. I'll just be like, my
Cynical.
boyfriend's cheating on me. I was like, what are you going to do about it? I'll just be one of those.
Is it you who are you cheating?
So empathy is key. Like that's one thing
Yeah.
that I realized, that it's easy to say ki ha sab theek ho jayega, but to actually think about it, that if you were in that particular person's situation, how would you really deal with this situation? Like how would you deal with it? That's when you realize that okay, it's easy to say, then it's done, ki ha sab theek ho jayega, it's going to be okay. Don't cry, it's all right.
And when I first met you, like you had a longer set of hair. So do you feel that was a defining moment for you also, like to let go of that?
That's something that I really use a lot, whether it's in therapy or with these. When these girls met me for the first time, these kids in Vindhyachal, they were like, "कि हमें पता नहीं था कि आप भैया हो कि आप दीदी हो." And I'm like, perfect. I'm going to so use this, in my gender lessons. So initially, of course, I've had like really long hair, like hair till my waist, and I always wanted to cut my hair, but I never had the guts to. I was just like, "नहीं, I'm not going to look okay in it. I'm not going to look. I'm just going to look very weird and different." And so I went very gradual. Like I went really, really gradual.
Honestly, this is the first time I'm meeting you, and I can't imagine you in any other hair apart from the one you have.
Like getting till a pixie, I think being queer really, really helped me. So I think a lot with being queer has helped me, whether it is with my body, whether it is with my hairstyle, and I use it in my sessions. I use it while I'm talking about gender stereotypes.
It's helped you be more comfortable with
Absolutely,
yourself.
absolutely.
मेरे में तो opposite हो रहा है. The gayer I get, the worse I hate
Counseling
my
चालू
body.
करो.
चलो. Second episode.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, Richa. As we said, like
Thank you.
You have a fount of knowledge, and we'd like to have you back on the show.
Sure.
And we can talk about so much more.
Yeah.
Farhad, thank you for
I'd
being here.
like to know if anyone wants to reach out to you. How do they reach out to you? Like
So
for
right now
therapy
I
or,
have
like, anything?
LinkedIn. I have
Okay.
LinkedIn, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I do a lot of work on Facebook or Instagram, like
something
mainly
more,
Instagram. So Instagram pay through, whether it is talking about my client experiences or whether I do a lot of like abhi Women's Day ke samay I'd done a series on women and mental health. So my partner and me, she's a graphic designer, so she did the creatives and I did the write-ups. So we do a lot of
Yeah, but gay boys don't LinkedIn. If they had to reach out to you for help or
Instagram.
anything,
Right now I have Instagram, which is very active.
What's your ID?
Richa_3.
Richa_3.
Awesome. We'll link it with the episode description as well, so
Sure.
it's easier for you to find Richa.
Yeah.
Farhad, you can find obviously
On LinkedIn.
People have found
Oh my god.
Nice.
So I always say both because I'm like, हाँ प्रोफेशनल है तो आप LinkedIn पे मुझे ढूंढ सकते हो, कॉर्पोरेट वर्कशॉप में आप वही बोलोगे.
Glassdoor. I like Glassdoor.
वही
It's a
फर्क है,
cooler
हमारा
link.
सब एक ही Instagram पे आ रहा है साथ में. Anyways, and my name is Navin Narona. Thank you for joining us. Just keeping it queer. We'll be back next week with a new episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, this is me, Eva Bhatt, your host for the podcast 9XM Soundcast. This podcast is produced by India's largest music network, 9X Media. We have been catering music and you have been enjoying. And now we bring you a podcast where music inspires. Every week, I interact with some of the best minds from the music industry to understand their creative discipline. Every new episode will feature artists who will share inspiring notes from their journey, some valuable tips for budding artists. So do subscribe to the podcast where music inspires. Enjoy a brand new episode of 9XM Soundcast every Tuesday on IVM Podcast app or website or wherever you get your podcast from.
Hi, I'm DJ, one of the presenters of the Edges and Sledges cricket podcast. I'm based in London and host the podcast along with my friend from school, Varun, who's based in Singapore, and his brother Ashwin, who's based in the US. We've all been massive fans of Indian cricket all our lives, and despite living in 3 different time zones and having pretty busy professional lives, we decided to start our own cricket podcast in March 2018. After putting out 59 episodes on our own, we were delighted to join IVM in May 2019, becoming the first pre-existing podcast to be picked up by India's largest podcast network. We've chatted with some awesome people, had some fantastic cricketing conversations along the way. But the main reason we do this every week is to have fun discussing the same cricket topics and issues that you guys are talking about every day in your living rooms. We're fans, not experts, so expect us to be honest. We really hope you decide to join us every week on the podcast.